can we do about it? We've done it! What can we do about it? Put it back in the fucking bottle?
Well then, Tony, I have got an option for you tonight. You can either have a question or you can have a quiz. What would you like? Well, you can have both if you want. Oh, good start.
A question or a quiz?
Yeah.
Well, isn't a quiz generally a
right
series of questions?
All right, what do you want first?
Quiz. Well, why don't you put the question?
I'll be honest with you, Tony. I've not thought this out, have I? Really, to be fair,
I haven't really. No,
not really.
I think you're confusing the definitions of a question and a quiz.
God, after all these 5 years, Tony, we finally make a mistake at the very last episode. I feel really stupid now, to be quite honest. So, what do you want? Go on.
Quiz.
The quiz. Who said this? MK Dons will never be in League 2 again under my watch. Who said that?
Oh, I believe that was Peter Winkleman.
Okay. Do you want the second part of this quiz stroke question business?
Yeah.
You ready? Have you ever tried to put something back in a fucking bottle?
No, because generally, if stuff comes out of a bottle, it's really difficult to get it back in.
Could be.
No.
What if it was a ship and it was a ship in a bottle? They're quite hard to get in the first place, aren't they? Them.
Do you know how they do that?
I do know how they do it. Yeah,
it's really quite simple.
It is. All the masks are flat with a bit of thread, and then they just pull them up when it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, getting the barter thing out would be a challenge.
Well, you could just smash the bottle, couldn't you?
Why is Colin ringing us?
I don't know. I can ask him.
No, Colin, join this fucking... No, bye,
Answer
Colin.
it.
I'm not, if I answer that call, I'll go on to the call with Colin.
Oh, don't do that. Are you there, Dan?
I am here, I think.
Right, shall we introduce...
Yeah.
Right, well, you're a bit... Right, shall we introduce...
Stop ringing me!
Is this like what happens every week?
This is Colin.
It does when Colin's involved, yeah. Fucking, that's why he's not on. He's been on twice, that was enough. Fucking takes us about 2 hours to get him fucking actually online. Right.
Colin Butler is unavailable. I'll give up.
Yeah, okay.
I give up.
Just, we can't get you on, mate. Sorry.
Well, we've been ringing him, so...
I can't get you on. This is good, isn't it? I wasn't going to edit this. You on. Right, anyway. So, where were we before we were interrupted by Colin Butler?
Yeah, so you were asking a series of questions.
I was! That was it!
Also known as, which you've suddenly just realised at 61 years old, a series of questions is also known as a...
Quiz, Tony!
Quiz. Yeah.
So, what do you think then, Tone, about what happened on Sunday?
What do I think? I think Burton wasn't quite as good as I thought it would be. And we got relegated, and I had to stand. I was in the terrace, and my feet hurt, and my back hurt, and I didn't like it. And we got relegated, and I didn't have any beer.
Do you not have a beer?
And the queue was massive, and Albie come out of the bar with 18 pints to himself, by the way.
Good lad.
And Dan McCallum wasn't drinking. Dan McCallum said it was too early.
It did kick off stupidly early, didn't it?
Yeah, but it was like 11 o'clock.
Well, that's opening time. Do you want to introduce everyone that's on this very last ever podcast then, Tony?
On this very last ever podcast, we have managed to acquire, pending other invitations being accepted and people actually answering their fucking Skype and stop ringing me instead. We have got, in no particular order, as they appear on my screen here, Mr. Albie McAlbie. Evening, Albie.
I want to know.
Paul Harris, a.k.a. Paul.
Good evening, everybody.
Ross Andrew Gallacher, the legend that is. And Dippy Don.
Hello.
As well.
Can I ask a question before we start? Why do you keep muting yourself, Sandy?
I'm used to doing this at work.
Oh, he's used to it, Tony, at work.
Yeah.
Space button person.
Yeah, no, I'm very used to, I do a lot of meetings over video conferencing software.
I'll be honest with you, I thought you'd be better at it then, to be quite honest. I'm actually a little bit shit at it.
So we've got 1, 2, 3
Six,
previous
Tony.
co-hosts.
We have
4,
I forgot
including
about
yourself, but you're not a previous.
that.
We were going to have another one. The original, my original co-host from. Oh shit! Do you know what? I forgot to invite someone. My original co-host from 2009. I found
2009,
some
Tony.
records. October the 7th, 2009 was the earliest one I could find. And I'm just going to nip off and find the producer of those shows. If you continue.
I can continue. I'm a professional podcaster, Tony. I've been at it for well over 5 years now. Right, so who was at the game? Did you go, Dan?
Yes, yeah, I was there. We decided to make a weekend of it, so we went up on the Saturday, stayed over. I don't know what Tony was talking about the Burton being shit, but the areas outside of it are actually lovely, and that was about as good as it got, I think, because the game.
Oh, it was a ground more that I was expecting more from a town that is basically a giant brewery. I thought they might just have some like big beer marquee with millions on beers on tap, but clearly I was wrong.
You were. Were you there, Albie? Oh, sorry.
I was there, and yeah, I concur with Tony. I must say I was slightly disappointed walking into the away end. And if anything says relegation is waiting for you more than have Carling on tap and that's all the lager you're going to get, then I don't know what else does. Fairly, it was a fairly League Two exit out of League One into League Two, put it that way.
Oh, that's good then. We don't just get... That's very good then. That's something to look forward to.
Anybody else think that we were a bit lacking in urgency? I know we had 31 chances, but how often did you see Laker with a ball or whoever, and then nobody's in the box?
You might have got a different perspective if you'd been watching it on a laptop like I was, but I thought we were like a bit busy. But it's interesting you've said about Leko, because he's just really got on my nerves. He's got on my nerves basically since he arrived. All that stupid, like, he's like a poor man's Corbinu, isn't he? Like 15 step-overs, and then he either gives the ball away or he falls on his arse because he's actually stood on the bloody thing. I'd be, in a season where hardly any of them, have made an impression. The only impression he's made on me is that he's a bit of a fucking nuisance, to be quite honest. That's the only impression I can get from him, So there you go. Were you there, Paul, or were you like me?
He is a bit... It can be frustrating at times, because he does like to do the old step-overs and take the man on and then take him on again and then go back and have another go. But I just thought we lacked a bit of urgency and getting men into the box when we had our chances. And I don't remember 31 shots.
That was just in the
I
last...
do remember about 5 or 6 on target.
I'm just going to say that those 31, Tony, were in the last 30 seconds of the match, mate. That's when those 31 came in. Just like absolutely you couldn't make that up, could you? Really, honestly, it was just how many shots.
When we hit the post, I thought,
no.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be our day, is it? And then Cambridge were 2-0 up, and
it is what it is. Were you there, Paul, or did you watch it on the laptop?
We deserve it.
I watched it on iFollow, but I had Sky Soccer on the television, so I just had it out of my eyesight. So I was keeping up to date with all the matches, and it just wasn't to be, was it? Really? The number of chances that we had, you knew that they'd still be playing now and still wouldn't score a goal.
Yeah, I was about to say that. They could still be. There could be no. Button could have pissed off on Sunday, and we could still be trying, kicking the ball at that goal, and it still wouldn't go in, would it? It was, the strangest thing about this, and like I was talking to my wife about it last night, and she goes, "Oh, you're lying," but genuinely, honestly, I have absolutely don't care, you know. I just genuinely, I'm not making this up, you know, because this is the last podcast and we've been relegated. I honestly, genuinely could not care less, you know. It's just, you know, now he's trying to invite us onto his call, you know. Just, what's he doing?
Colin,
God's sake.
Technology,
we
yeah.
had to do this last time. I'm not doing it again.
It says that you and him have started a call now.
Yeah, that's well. He rang me 3 times, didn't he? So
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say here. I could try him again. I'm calling him again. I don't know why. This is annoying because I wasn't going to edit this podcast. I was going to fire it straight out. I'm not going to have to edit all this shit out, am I? Or I could just leave it in. Who cares? Oh, it says he's unavailable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where were we before we were interrupted by someone that can't work the internet? Oh yeah, we were kicking balls at a goal, weren't we, and not getting them in?
We were, yeah. Yeah.
You said you didn't care, John.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I genuinely, like, I have genuinely got quite a lot of other things going on at the minute, and it's just, I've tried my very best, you know, not to get, you know, kind of sucked into football the way that I was before, and, you know, I think I've genuinely kind of done it, and honest to God, like, I'm not pissed off at all. I don't know what you guys are like, but genuinely, honestly, I just could not care less, to be quite honest. Well, not care less. Obviously, I'd much rather, you know, we'd stayed in, but, you know, we didn't.
Who's calling again? Who's calling again?
for fuck's sake, I'm blocking him now.
You can't.
I'm blocking him.
No, it's just what's he doing? Good grief!
Just
It says
go,
you've added
just
him,
stop.
Tony. I'll say Tony's added you.
I have added him, and I've called him like 4 times, and he's just created this other call. Now he's ringing. Is he ringing you now?
Yeah.
I can hear ringing.
Are you there?
No, you don't answer that call because you'll be.
Oh no.
Have you answered that on your phone?
Not on my phone. No, on this bloody thing.
You're
Oh,
still
I
there,
If you answer that call, you'll go on hold on this call and join his call.
Oh, I don't want to do that then, do I? Nah.
Oh, you don't want to do that?
Right, I'm going to try him once more,
No, I don't.
and then we're not ringing him again.
This is good. Are you there, mate?
I hear him.
I'm here.
Where are you?
Hey!
I can't see you, mate.
Well, I'm here.
We could hear you.
Can you hear him, Tone?
I think so. Colin?
Yeah, I can hear
What a way
you.
to go out.
Oh, God, right, that's good. Right, well, we've been talking about how shit...
Seance.
What we've been talking about, Colin, is how shit you are at working the internet. That was our main conversation for the last 12 minutes. Right, where were we? Well, we're saying I don't care about football, so that was it. I don't care about it. Genuinely, honestly, I've made a real effort to not get hooked back into it, and it's just, you know, like I was saying a minute ago before someone that can't work the internet, you know, learned how to work it, was that I'd much rather we'd stayed in League One, but at the end of the day, we were just not good enough to do it, so there you go. Don't know what else to say.
As you say, John, it is what it is.
That is what it is, yeah.
Does anyone disagree that it wasn't deserved?
Well, getting relegated.
Yeah.
Totally deserved.
It was deserved, yeah. Especially after when we drew against Cheltenham. That was it. And obviously then the 4-4 draw with Barnsley. It would have been nice to have stayed up, but yeah, there was, as the game progressed and Luke Ashby got more and more excited, it was obvious we weren't going to score a goal.
He was very excited.
He was very excited. Yes, I've never heard him so excited. And then afterwards, the infamous clip with Pete in the car park, which I first saw on Twitter, posted by the 9 Years podcast, who were very, very happy to post it, as you can imagine.
Brilliant.
And within about 30 minutes, they had 5,000 views of said clip.
Oh dear.
So
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
I love them too. Yeah. Yeah, they're a bit like us, really, in a way. They want a manager that does it their way, and they're wondering why they almost went out of the league. That's with people on that discussion board. But I had to go off social media on Sunday afternoon. Especially the BBC, your comment section, that just exploded.
Has anyone seen the High Wycombe equivalent of the Milton Keynes Citizen? Because they are taking full responsibility for us getting relegated. They've more or less said that High Wycombe give us that useless fucking defender, which Anthony Stewart as like as like an agent, and I genuinely find it. They are taking 100%.
He only played 3 times.
Yeah, that's why they're saying that. Just like they genuinely are. I mean, they are saying that High Wycombe sent him there as an agent, to get us relegated, and that is the equivalent of the Milton Keynes Citizen. I shit you not. And to be quite honest with you, I cannot believe them, because he's been absolutely fucking appalling, him. He's been a massive load of shit, that guy. He really has.
Oh, Ross has put
his hand up. Hang on. Sorry, Ross, go on.
Do you know the toilet, Ross?
Yeah, so they went to all the trouble of sending him to Aberdeen, and him playing shit at Aberdeen for 3 games where Aberdeen got hammered, to get him to go to MK Dons.
Yeah.
So I've heard some conspiracy theories in my time, but
I'll be honest with you, Sandy. They were playing the long game there. That was there. They were playing the long game from the start. Hang on. Go on, Andrew Macpherson.
I do find it quite poetic. If I was somebody who hated MK Dons, I'd be very quick to bring it up that they got relegated with three ex-AFC Wimbledon players. 3 ex-AFC Wimbledon players in their squad and 2 ex-Wycombe players.
Okay, that's what it is. Just a massive. The whole season, you can't. I mean, anyone that's
might as well laugh.
Anyone that's got half a brain cell would know that it wasn't down to what happened in the last, 30 seconds on on Sunday. That's been brewing since. It's been brewing since before the season even kicked off. Was this the season we couldn't have any friendlies at the stadium because of the Women's Euros? Was that this season or last season?
No, that was this season.
Yeah, there you go. We couldn't
three friendlies, didn't we?
Yeah,
3 friendlies all away, against non-league opposition, which is
that's good. That's fucking good news. That's good practice then, because this time next year we'll be playing them, won't we? To be quite honest.
And also, then no manager for quite a while.
God's sake. So there was that. That was before it even started, wasn't it? I mean, you couldn't even organise. We are not. I was saying to someone today, it's a guy that owns a company I work for, and he's like a Watford supporter. So I was in the office this morning, I was just chatting to him, and I goes, it is what it is, mate. I mean, I'm not that bothered, and we were just chatting, and I said, do you know what I genuinely... He was going on about that video because he'd seen it, and I said, do you know what I genuinely, honestly think? I think they'd be more happy if they didn't actually have to bother with a league football team and had it as a sort of mini Wembley, where they could have their darts, they could have their snooker, they could have bloody gigs, they could have whatever, and they wouldn't have to worry about, they don't worry about the inconvenience of inconveniencing us, do they? Because, if they've got snooker or darts on, then that becomes the most important sport that's played at the ground, and we are just once again second fiddle. The whole thing.
Are you suggesting that at this football club that the biggest inconvenience to them is the football club?
It is. The biggest inconvenience to Milton Keynes Dons is Milton Keynes Dons, if you ask me, Tony. It genuinely is, mate.
Don't forget, of course, our lovely home shirts.
Yeah, I mean, there's another. That's a good point. I've forgotten about that.
That was our jinx this season, I think.
Yeah. And then, before the season kicks off, you see that shirt and you think, that looks a bit shit, that. And then when you see it in, in the flesh, so to speak, you just think, fuck me, that's absolutely appalling. There was that before the season even kicked off, What do you think, Colin Butler, if you're still here? You've not said much.
No, I'm very conscious that I don't want you to throw me off.
No, you're all right. What I would like you to do is stop laughing.
Are you concerned that you'll say something that will lead you to be thrown off?
Well, I read the rules.
Are you speaking down a toilet tube or something? You're on the inside of a toilet roll. You just sound like...
Have you forgotten to have you put your headset on again and not plugged it in?
I think that's probably what it is. See that tin can you've got? See that tin can? Is there a little knot in the bit of string on the inside of the can? Is that?
I'll undo it.
God, it didn't get any better, Tony, does it? This. I'm glad we're stopping there, to be quite
You know
honest.
what? It feels like he's in another room, shouting.
Shouting through a closed door. Fuck's sake.
Oh dear.
I can hear you perfectly.
Jesus, I don't know what you're doing.
We could hear you, Colin, but it's sounding like you're sat on the toilet shouting at your laptop
Yeah.
in another room.
Or like...
Are you on the toilet? Is that what you got? You got the
God's
trots.
sake, it's not going well, this.
I've got internet problems, so I'm trying to do it on my iPad.
Fucking
It's
hell,
not
don't
working
bother.
very well either.
Anyway, let's get back to people that know how to work things. Where were we? I'll tell you what we'll do now.
Yeah, undeserved inconvenience.
Right,
And,
This strip.
oh, I had a great question, actually.
Go on,
Can't
ask
remember
me.
what it was
I'm good
now.
at questions, Tone. Go.
Oh, someone... Was it Colin? Colin, was that message you sent me? Yeah, actually, yeah, it was a really good question. I'll read Colin's question, but word it slightly differently.
You put punctuation in that in it, Tony, and full stops and stuff.
It was decent enough. It passed my test. Yeah,
You
my
are quite
literacy
a
test.
harsh taskmaster when
Yeah.
it comes to punctuation, Tone.
Right, so Colin said, initially the fans were forgiving of most things, but as the youngsters have become a driving force, they seem to be out of step with the fans.
Who's eating sweets?
The club has lost. This is basically. Can you ask the panel if they think the club has lost touch with the mood of the fans? Initially, the fans were forgiven of most things, but as the youngsters have become a driving force, they seem to be out of step with the fans. He says he can't make. I'm talking about you in a third person, Colin. Even though, just in case you've dropped your iPad down the toilet, or something. I can't make my mind up if it's arrogance or ignorance or a bit of both. So I'm going to ask everyone here tonight. Arrogance or ignorance, or if it's both, give me a percentage sort of split on what you think. Ross?
I think 75% arrogance, 25% ignorance.
Yeah, and I'll in with ignorance, I'm going to lump complacency as well, because that's how I'm perceiving it.
Oh, complacency is a big part as well.
Yeah. Albie?
It's largely ignorance, but at the same time, to contradict myself entirely, I think that they are clearly aware of a lot of what people are saying and problems, because as much like the team at Burton, they've tried to rush everything out at the last minute to appease the fans when the fans were clearly on the edge of meltdown. So they're clearly aware of it. They just choose to be ignorant. So I'll be fucked if I know. They're just an absolute clusterfuck at the minute. It doesn't matter what percentage it is. It's bananas.
Yeah, I like that. Dips?
I'd go probably 40 arrogance, 40 ignorance, and 20 apathy. I just don't think they care.
Oh, apathy's a good one. Yeah, but I think that comes with the. And when we say ignorance, I was said earlier in the season that there is an element of them not actually realising there are any issues because of a lack of contact with the fans. That
Inter Milan have
is
just
really
scored,
important.
by the way.
Oh, Inter Milan.
Who are they playing?
AC Milan.
The other Milan.
Oh, really? Is that a home game?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do buy into what you said, Tony, because it's. I don't know how to describe it, but I was at the front of the stadium the day we got relegated against Scunthorpe in 2018. More than anything, just out of curiosity to see how it unfolds, because you know that there will be fans who will walk around to the front of the club. And Pete came out that day and he was apologetic and he was doing what typically Pete Winkleman does. And credit to him that day, actually. He fronted up front and centre to about 150 Rowdy Don supporters and tackled it head on. This one, he's filmed swearing at a young lad and saying, I can't put it back in the fucking bottle or whatever. It's as if he's bemused that people are angry. You know?
Yeah, I got a little bit of that as well, and
What do you think, Paul?
I would say 40% arrogance, 20% incompetence, and incompetence, and the other one. What was the other one again? I couldn't remember.
Complacency.
Well, take your pick.
Complacency,
Ignorance,
and
arrogance,
90% complacency.
I think that they are so far disconnected from, what the fan base is, that they don't know what they've done, to be quite honest. I think that there's such a massive disconnect between, those young lads that are in, that stand up the back of Block 11 banging those drums and all that kind of business, and the day-to-day running of the club, but they just don't know. I don't even think it's ignorance. I just think it's the fact that they take us for granted, basically. I've always thought they take us for granted, always. But this season has been that in spades. It's been an utter disgrace. And whoever's at the back of this, I mean, you can't blame Liam Sweeting for, I don't know, taking our concessions away, at the bars. You can't blame him for the price of the beer. That's not down to him. But someone's responsible for that, aren't they? They really are. And the actual massive, utter, not complete unaware. I've made up a new word.
Say that I had a chat with Liam and Simon Crampton before the game, and they seemed very upbeat and quite confident. But I think that was misplaced. I mean, I wasn't that excited, nervous, or scared, but it just seemed like. Unless it was a front, maybe.
Both Andrew and Ross have got their hand up.
Quite relaxed.
But before we speak to Andrew and Ross, what do you think, Colin? Because you're the one that has indeed posed that question. What do you think the answer is?
Well, I hope you can hear me, but I mean, obviously, I'm not too far
Is he
away
there?
from being the chairman of the MKDSA. I found it very difficult to communicate with the club because basically they just didn't really want to know. It was a case of, we know better than you, don't try and tell us our job. And I found it incredibly difficult to communicate with them.
So were you chairman when Andy Cullen was there?
Yeah, I mean, Andy Cullen was absolutely brilliant. I mean, Andy Cullen used to phone me every single week, even if he hadn't got anything really to say.
I'll be honest with you,
to catch up.
That would have got on my fucking nerves. That if he was ringing me up every week, I would have seen him been fucking blocking him.
Well, I quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't say he was very forthcoming with any inside information, but the longer the relationship between myself and him went on, he was more candid with what he said, and I got on very well with Andy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we had a couple of episodes on the phone where we were shouting at each other, but
could he hear you? I'm a fucking good man if he could hear you. Quite honest with you. Right, Ross, you've got your hand up for ages. What do you want to say?
So you were saying that bit about the disconnect. It'll be really interesting to see if they still do this. So when I gave up my season ticket, when I was in the box office giving it up, the people in the box office asked me the reason why I was giving it up, and they seemed really interested to know, and that'll be interesting to see if they actually ask people why they're giving up their season ticket.
So what was your reason, Ross? Tell us.
Oh, I just said that I went every game home and away and I was burnt out and I couldn't be bothered anymore.
What do you think then, Andrew?
Yeah, that happens.
He's got his hand up.
Well, I think that there's something poignant that you said a while ago, and I think it was either at the start of this, I can't remember when you said it, but you did say, John, that the club were probably the most happiest when we went in that stadium.
Yeah, they were.
And I debunked it, especially, it must have been at the start of the season when things were just starting to go a bit wrong, because I was still on the high from last season when I described it on that opening Albi on the road at Cambridge, where I said that, and I'd still stand by it, that was the most united I'd seen the fan base in the club ever, as far as I was concerned. And that's without Carl Robinson and Dele Alli and all that sort of stuff. And just over the past couple of weeks, I've started to think that you're right on that, because the only thing that they're happy about fans being inside the stadium now is money. They don't want people singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt" or expressing opinions or shouting in car parks and things like that. Of course, nobody wants that. Of course, they don't. They don't want anything that fans have to offer that isn't wholly positive. And that's the thing that I've found about this club, especially not just this season, but pretty much the whole time I've been supporting the club, is when things are going fantastically well, they lap it up and they love it, and they'll be as quick as anything to be on BBC Look East in the evening and the like, and talk sport and all that sort of stuff. And when things go slightly wrong, they're ambivalent.
That's a great point that you've said, because like last year, I can remember listening to various podcasts, at least 3, where Liam Sweeting was on, one of which was about Scott Twine, how he was he was the League One Messi and all that, and how he'd, identified him, and it was all down to him that he'd brought him here, and it was like, he was great. How many times have you heard him this season? Once. And that was that time. I can't even think if he's done any audio. He did that thing, didn't he? We released a statement, but it was bloody the statement that was going to be in the programme, wasn't it? It wasn't even, he couldn't even be arsed to do like an independent thing. It was something that he clipped, before it went in the bloody programme at the weekend. It's alright. I mean, people have been saying, we should give him another chance. I don't want the guy sacked. I don't care if fucking stay go. I couldn't care less any longer. But the whole point is that people have to, realise that someone is responsible, for signing a complete load of duds, and be it him or be it Liam Manning or be it a combination of the both of them, they have signed a complete and utter load of duds this year. It's as simple as that. So it's okay to come on podcasts, I don't know, bloody 12, 15 months ago and tell everyone how brilliant you are. If you're doing shit, you should be man enough to come on a podcast and say, to be quite honest with you, that's a little bit shit this year, sorry. Daniel's got his hand up. Go on, Dan.
Yeah, no, it was just sort of on that point, and it was relevant as to sort of just after we'd got relegated. Do we actually want the club to come out with all of this, with lots of different things, when things are going really badly? Because I can just imagine the reaction. Say we just after Bolton or something, we just lost, and Liam Sweeting's coming on a podcast. The reaction to that is just going to be horrific.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, they can't win, can they, Dan? They can't win.
Exactly.
If they say nothing,
people will go, he's saying nothing.
They're going to say they're hiding. If they come out and say something, they're just going to, because they've got to be careful what they say, and they can't really say anything. So it is much more difficult when you're not successful to talk, because, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that, but I think we just that one 30-second video was spoke volumes for me. I want to ask Albie a question, because Colin alluded to it in his question. The fan base has changed dramatically, hasn't it, in the last 2 seasons?
Yeah.
You say?
Yeah. Just quickly, because I don't want to talk over people, but the point that was just being made a second ago about damned if you do and damned if you don't, that's entirely true. I mean, there's plenty of people that will probably be now saying that they want to hear from people. Me, this is totally me included, by the way. I'm not hanging anybody else dry.
Well, you get your chance tomorrow.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. They want to hear somebody from the club say something, but we know that it's just going to be the same old shit. So we want to be surprised, to be honest. The fan base, to answer your question, has changed dramatically. I'd say since we left the Championship. A lot.
I remember the where were we? Barnet away. It was pre-season friendly. I remember where we were, and it was the first time I'd seen our fans fighting with each other, and it was a new young group of lads.
Did we win?
I can't fucking remember. I'm going to say no.
Right, Ross, what do you want?
Yeah, it's a different fan base, and these are kids who are not familiar with how the club and the fans interacted in previous years, and you have to treat them as new fans. You will, as we've said before, you will put up with a certain amount of shit if you're doing well, and that isn't any excuse for this season at all. And yes, things do always feel worse when you're doing badly and so on. We've discussed this at great length for many months now. But it is an ignorance, it is a complacency. I wouldn't call it arrogance as such, but there's definitely they need to know their fans, and there are distinct groups now. So on Sunday, we were commenting about you see all the old faces, didn't you, at the last away game of the season? They all turn up. But you've had that core of the young, mainly young lads that have been following us for a couple of seasons, as Albie said. And regardless of what you think of them and some of the songs that they sing, and I was privy to the Russell Martin family member song on Sunday as well, but chose to ignore it.
Poor lads.
Yeah. But they are, and they do spend a significant sum of money following Dons all over the place, so they have to be taken into consideration. Whether you like them or not, they are mainly making up the bulk of the away attendances this season.
What do you want to say, Ross?
Just to sort of say, like, from afar, the fan base seems to have fundamentally changed. You know, hearing from people like Dan and Albie and that about people I went with when I used to go regularly to like now, it just sounds like a lot worse. There's a lot more idiots out there. The sort of trouble that you hear about, that hardly ever happened when I used to go. It really seems to have sort of turned over from afar.
I don't think it's
to
worse.
Them, and I want to say straight off, there isn't generally any trouble.
Yeah.
Unless Albie or Dippy know different. But as far as I know, there isn't any, the sort of thing that you associate with trouble at football anyway. You might get the odd one pissed up in a pub, get a slap off someone. But
I don't think it's worse, Ross. What it is it's just a bit different. These are kids that are, they're basically kids, aren't they? I mean, they're like, I'd be surprised if they were even in their 20s, so they have known nothing else except Milton Keynes Dons. They don't know anything about Wimbledon. So I'm not full of admiration for them because I'm not that kind of person. I don't really like people, and I don't, not particularly enthused.
Albie said on Sunday he felt old.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's a very good point, because someone like who's in the late 20s has got absolutely no connection with someone who's in the late teens, have they? You just wouldn't do, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be friends with someone, like if you were like, I don't know, 28, 29, you're not going to hang about with a 17-year-old, are you? I've seen pictures of these kids on the internet and they are quite literally children, but they are, this is such a wanky thing to say and I really don't want to say it, but they are the future of the club, and for the club to sort of treat everyone, not just them, but they've treated everyone, the way they have this season, it's just, you reap what you sow, don't you? It's as simple as that. It just is. What can you say? You've been going for ages, Paul. What do you think? You've been going for as long as me, haven't you?
Yeah, I was in the hockey stadium days, I think, from 2005.
Yeah.
And I feel bloody old now. I know my knees do. I can just about manage the stairs. So when you have the younger fans running up and down the stairs all the way through the game, changing seats, and get you to stand up and move, it gets on your nerves a bit. It only seems 5 minutes since we were at the hockey stadium, and now the only thing that I complain about, or my dad does, is there's no hot water in the toilets.
Since I've been going, which was March 2005. And if this makes any sense, it was neither February than it was April, so it was early March. When I first went, we were in League One. That was the year that Eds scored that last-minute goal and kept us up. Then the following season, we were in League One. And then we got relegated. Then we had a couple of years in League Two. Then we came back up. Then we were in the Championship. Then League One, flirting with the playoffs. Then we dropped down to League Two. Then we come back up to League One. Last season was astonishing. This season has been appalling, and absolutely, I have no idea what next season is going to be like. So, like we said at the top of the show, for someone to... He's not promised us Premier League football, has he? What he said is he's like... I mean, his big quote is, you know, planning for the Championship, you know, dreaming, you know, of the Premiership, but we find ourselves in League Two once again. I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit lost for words really as to how we've ended up in such a shit situation in the space of a year where we failed to go to the, you know, be promoted by 1 point to just coming down to this, the very last day, and we couldn't even be fucking arsed to score a goal, you know? I mean, I don't know what to say. I really, honestly, it's just an utter disgrace, isn't it? Very quiet, Colin. Give us your musings. Go on.
Musings. They're on at the bowl in the summer.
Yeah, there you go. That's another great point, you know? Like, they're... You know, are they more interested in promoting that than they are in keeping us in League One? I mean, I don't know.
100%.
What can you say?
Have you seen the prices, by the way?
How much is it? Go on, tell me.
I looked yesterday, and I'm sure it was £126.
126 of your English pounds? Fucking...
£126.
Did they pay you that to go and see them, yeah?
To see, I mean, they're not. There's only like 3 of them. It's not even a full band.
Not even like the Beatles, is it, Tony? Nah, fuck
no,
that.
they're not even a pop combo.
If it was Oasis, you could see
a bloke who sings and the drummer.
There's 5 of them in Oasis, Tony. That's kind of quite worth it, isn't it? Apart from the fact that they play absolutely Oasis songs. The drawback there is that they play Oasis songs, but apart from that.
Anywho, so we deserve to go down. I think we all agree on that.
Without a doubt.
The club is pick any from the list below. Arrogant, ignorant, complacent. What was the other one? Albie said. Was it Albie said it? Ignorance, arrogance, complacency, incompetence from Paul, and there was one other.
Ambivalent.
Ambivalent, which I don't know what that means, but it's a great word, and I like saying it. Ambivalent. I can imagine Mr. Bean saying that. Ambivalent. It's like a noise rather than a word.
Isn't it like you're blowing your nose, isn't it? Coughing up something you shouldn't have eaten.
Oh, fuck me. So, yes, no answer. Are we going to come straight back up next season? Albie?
Yes.
Sandy Randy, Andy Gallacher?
Don't know. No.
Fuck. Paul?
Hopefully.
Oh, fuck's sake. This is not that difficult, a yes-no answer. Diffie?
Yes.
John?
No.
Saying no as well. Any
Colin?
reason for saying no, JT?
Yeah, because we'll be in... this time next year, we'll be a non-league team.
It's going to be as a
Fair
Morecambe
enough.
going
The
down
ultimate
then, John?
optimist.
Is that what you think?
I think...
Because Morecambe are... I will put it out there now. I reckon Morecambe are going to take one of them spots, because if you've seen their retained list and the mess that they're in, that's 50% of the relegation spots already signed up.
Possibly be expelled.
We didn't ask Colin what he thinks. Colin, what do you think?
Oh yeah, Colin, yes, no answer. Have you finished your dump yet?
No, we are not coming straight back.
No.
Interested. So the youngsters amongst us, except for Ross, who gave something of a ambiguous sort of answer.
No.
He's not young, is he? Fuck me, he's nearly as old as I am, and I'm 61 next month.
So yeah.
How old are you, Sandy? How old are you, Sandy?
34.
Fuck off, you ain't 34. Get the fuck.
Yeah.
No chance.
By the way, congratulations.
Is he married? Oh, well done,
He's
Sandy.
getting married.
Are you?
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Mr.
Honestly?
Mr. Gallacher.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ross, oh, fucking that's... Oh, well done,
we
mate.
can't take the piss anymore.
No, that's brilliant, Ross. Honestly,
Thanks.
seriously.
No, it's good.
Oh, mate, I'm chuffed to bits for you. Oh, that's good news. I've had a really
Cheers.
shit day. I've been throwing my guts up since 1:30 this morning. I've been a really bad day at work. Someone's gone into the side of me van on the way back from feeding the horses. Oh, mate, honestly. Oh, I'm genuinely chuffed to bits for you, Ross. Oh, brilliant, mate. Can I come? Can I be your best man? Don't say no.
Look at his face.
Well, I haven't arranged it all yet.
You know what would be good, Tony? Joint best men, me and you.
Yeah, I already know who the best man is, but
Who is it?
I'm
It's
gonna
fucking
say
Dan McCall. I knew it would be. I knew
better.
it.
We would be better.
It's Dan McCall, isn't it? I
would
know
be
it.
spectacular. You get to wear a kilt as well.
Dan McCall wearing a kilt. Well, good luck. Oh, Ross, I'm genuinely pleased, mate. Honestly, I'm not taking the piss now. Well done, mate. Anyway, you got your hand up. What do you want to say? Can I be your best man? Yes, thank you, Ross. I will be.
No, I was going to say, if they don't go up,
They want.
is it existential? One word, Darlington.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like Yeovil. You've got Scunthorpe, both non-league teams. They were both in the Championship not that long ago, were they? I mean, it's all right to say, oh,
Yeah,
we're
but-
Milton Keynes, we got this massive stadium, but it's not inconceivable that this time next year we could be a non-league team. What do you want to say, Dan?
I'm just going to put it out there. You're talking about Yeovil and Scunthorpe, and there's Oldham, Bury, Rochdale. All of them, the thing that they had in common is absolutely terrible ownership. And you can say whatever you want about Pete. We're not in that state yet.
No, I don't think we ever will be financially because there's too many other things supporting the football club. I mean, the football club wouldn't be there if it wasn't for all the other stuff anyway. So, yeah, I agree with you there. That's
But then
not
what could happen if, because after Burton I saw a lot. Like I left pretty quickly once all the chanting started at him, and then like on social media I saw even death threats towards him and like things like that. If that carries on, and I know he's not been the best owner, I know there's things that he can do better and everything like that, and I wouldn't be adverse to a change, but if we force his hand, think of the types of people that are actively looking for clubs at the moment. You've still got your Mike Ashley's, your Massimo, whatever his name is. If we get an owner like that,
Yeah.
we'll be crying for Pete out, and it's
be careful what you wish for and all that.
Exactly, and again, it's not me saying, oh, we've got to stick with Pete until the end because we know who he is. It's just simply, just don't try and force him out because you just never know what's going to happen.
I've raised my hand.
I think we'll come straight back up. Right, there's the optimism side of me, or the optimistic side of me that wants to give this argument. So I knew everybody would say no. Do I actually think it? Probably not. But I don't think it will be like we'll get relegated or anything like that. I think at worst we'll finish in a playoff place. But I think that the club are still attractive. Put it this way: in League Two, if we're attracting good players to that level, we're one of the most attractive teams. And I think we will be attractive for managers of the highest ilk of League Two as well. Remember when we went down last time, as I said, it was a horrible, horrible place to be, this football club at that time. And then whatever you think about Paul Tisdale, we won't go into a discussion about that, I don't want it to. But he did come in and he calmed that place down quickly. And I just hope that we'll have a manager in who will do similar. And we'll attract some decent players. And by the time that the season starts again, we won't be having these discussions. We'll be talking about, looking forward to football starting and all that sort of stuff.
Do you know what we are? We are Northampton and we are Stevenage. We are a club, Tony, that will have a couple of years in League One, maybe 2 or 3 years in League One, then we'll get relegated again to League Two. We are a yo-yo club. That is what we are. You can look around the stadium, you can think, oh, Pete's brilliant, Pete's this, Pete's that. We are a yo-yo club. And unfortunately, rather than being a yo-yo club between the Championship and League One along the lines of Peterborough, we are a yo-yo club along the lines of fucking Northampton that go up to League One for a year, a couple of years, and then go back down to League Two. We are that club. You can say what you like, that's what we are.
I have to, yes. Said it would never happen, that would never be
there
us.
You go.
But perhaps it is. Perhaps that is our
There's
lot.
No perhaps about it, Tony.
In our
There's
30,000 seat stadium.
There's no perhaps, Tony. What you want to do is look at the
arena.
league. Look at the leagues next.
Just,
see
mean,
what
our history would suggest, yes, that is definitely the pattern.
That's what we are, Tony. We are. It's Northampton, it's Stevenage, it's Milton Keynes Dons. Yo up between League One and League Two.
Can I ask a question to everybody then? Right. So, are you pissed off that we are now a yo-yo club like a Northampton, amongst others, and a Swindon maybe?
Yeah, Swindon is another one.
Are you upset about that because of the promises that Pete Winkleman and Andy Cullen and everybody else have made about how forward-thinking we are? Would you have, in 2005, been okay with having a club that's League One, League Two, because you've got football to watch? I mean, I personally, not that I don't care, but I personally am not as dramatic about this as a lot of people are, because I'm now comfortable with accepting that we are not going to be able to a Championship club off the, you look at the likes of Brentford and Luton and all that, they've got models. We haven't got a model. We've got a hit and hope, and we can't stand in anybody's. We're a pushover club. We are a club that has been, ever since our existence began, really, been trying to win people over by doing things the right way, and that's not how you make friends.
The problem is, Albie,
like that.
The problem is, and you can paint it any colour you like, but the unique circumstances for like this club existing cannot be ignored. I mean, someone like years ago, I think it might have been in, remember that BBC like chat thing? Was it 606? Is that what it was called? I can't think what it was called on the internet. What was that called? They had
was
that
606.
Yeah, that. I can remember having, inverted commas, a discussion that was probably with that Bath Womble moron, and I'll never forget this, and I thought, that's such a great thing to say. I'm always going to remember that. He or they or whoever it is, like, said to me once, like, most clubs, every other club in the whole entire football league have formed around either an ideal or a community. Your club is formed around a bloody supermarket. And he's right. It's so annoying. It is. It's like, you think, you've been proven right after all these years. It's just so annoying. Like we said earlier on, where the football club, and especially the fans, are a monumentous inconvenience to this. What do you want to say, Ross? Go on.
TikTok, there's loads of people coming from around the UK to visit that Asda supermarket, because apparently it's the biggest Asda in the UK. It's a tourist attraction, apparently.
Yeah, it is the biggest one, the biggest supermarket in Europe, or biggest Asda in Europe, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we've got that going for us. I wanted to point out, so the new fans, and I mean, I think it's fair to say that there's a few of us sat here tonight who aren't quite as upset as we might have been a few years ago.
Is anyone genuinely upset about being relegated? Honestly, are you? That's a good question. We'll go around the panel. Are you?
Well, this is why I mention it, because on Sunday I did see quite, I would say, high-profile, prominent Dons fan crying their eyes out.
Crying? Was it you, Tony?
Crying their eyes out, and it would be the last person you would expect.
Was it Radar?
Can you name him, and Joe can leave it out?
No, I won't say who it was.
No, name him. I'll bleep it out. Name him.
No, I'm not going to name him. I'm not going to name him.
Go on the fucking chat then and tell me who it is. Go on.
I would tell you, it was. They were that upset that they weren't hiding it. They couldn't hide it, I should say, from anyone. At how upset they were. So you could say that, yeah, there's been a shift in the fan base, and we may or may not be as upset as we might have been a few years ago. But at the same time, there are fans who now are not aware of the whole Wimbledon thing. They're not aware of the move or the everything that surrounds that. Because this is their football club, and this is their weekend, and this is their weekend out with their mates. This is pretty much their everything, at least for the next few years, until they go to university, or, as Ross says, they burn themselves out. That it does mean that much to them, and I can't feel that. I mean, what I can tell you is that my daughter has not spoken to me about football since the final whistle on Sunday. It's not been mentioned once between us, because going back to 2005, 6, whenever it was, she knew that if we'd lost or things were going badly, don't talk to me. That was it. Just don't talk to me. So she's now. I mean, we've literally not discussed the situation and the relegation since it happened. She's not said a word to me.
What do you want to say, Paul? Paul's has his hand up for ages. What do you want to say? Go on.
I'm not upset, but just very disappointed.
Sorry,
basically. Bye, John.
The lights on.
Yeah,
The lights are on.
strangely enough,
find Colin.
He's going to find Colin. Strangely enough, nobody at work who knows I'm an MK Dons fan has talked to me about Sunday since.
He's in John's toilet. Sorry, Paul. Go on.
I was just saying that it's funny because nobody at work has breached the subject about Sunday to me. They know I'm an MK Dons fan.
Yeah.
They've just been very, very quiet. I'm just disappointed, mainly because we've been through it 3 times now. And, I know there's people that are very upset, very angry. But, it was just disappointed and, a bit fed up, really.
What do you want to say, Albie?
I don't want to give him too much credit because he's a twat, but a lot of us on this call know Dan McCallum, but to his credit, I've learned a lot from him in terms of dealing with sport and heartbreak over at least the past couple of years.
Can I ask you a quick question? Have you learned how to talk to women from him?
Right, it doesn't. But on a serious note, I went
serious.
I went into that game on Sunday knowing that there was at least an 80% chance in my mind that we were going to get relegated. So by the full-time whistle when we got relegated, why would I allow it to disappoint me when I'm expecting it anyway? I didn't see, and this might lead us to the discussion where we talk a bit of actual football with Mark Jackson and players and whatever in a minute.
Not even mentioned that he's been sacked, have we? Bloody hell, forgot all about that.
Yeah, so I was never inspired by Mark Jackson, for as lovely as a bloke he is. I was never inspired by the players, and I could never see an upturn in our fortunes over the period of time that he was with us. We had 3 wins in a row, of course we did. But as I said after I think it was the Cheltenham game, it went from 3 wins in a row and 7 unbeaten to, by the time that Cheltenham scored an equaliser, to being 5 without a win. So it was really not all that when you think about it. And by the time the full-time whistle went, it's not so much like I didn't care. Of course I care. But by the time I was back in Milton Keynes and sat in a pub with Dan,
talking about
I was
women.
sat with him looking at the League 2 table.
You were sat with him looking at women.
Yeah, looking at women whilst deciding which place we're going to chat up women in League 2, and apparently Barrow's the definite one. But yeah, I'm not as disappointed as a lot of people. I certainly wouldn't have been crying my eyes out. I was angry at full-time whistle and I was swearing, but by the time I walked out the gate, I was trying to find a Tesco so I could pick up some beers.
Right, Dan's had his hand up for ages. What do you want to say, Dan?
Honestly, I'm echoing Albie's sentiments. It's like we were the same. We came out of the game. We were in the car. We were sort of going through League 2. We were sort of planning. We might do a weekend at Walsall. We might do a weekend at Wrexham. We might do this. We might do that. Because for me, and I don't know if it's just because when we came out of the Championship and then we went back down to League 2, I was away at uni then, so I was sort of away from the most toxic part of everything, and I just managed to sort of separate myself from the football club in terms of I go because it's like my social time really. Like I go, I've met some really good friends at football. I go to see them, I go to have a few drinks, I go to watch a game of football, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be more disappointing than enjoyable, and then we'll go home and we do it all again. So I was disappointed because I don't want to be in League 2. But for me, the only thing that's going to change next year is where we go. that's it. We're still going to enjoy ourselves. We're still going to have a laugh. We're still going to get annoyed at the football. We're still going to cheer at the football.
Right. Let's have a quick chat about Jackson getting sacked and who we think's going to come in. I'll go be up front.
Saxon.
There's nothing I would like better than the Cowley brothers to take over. That's my preferred choice, and I am finishing that conversation right there.
That's
Fair
interesting.
enough. I don't have an
That-
opinion.
That now gives me a list of 1 contenders because I genuinely can't think of anyone that.
That would be better. I think that would be if I was Pete and Liam Sweeting, I would be quite literally driving up to that guy's house right now, and this would be me. Come on, Chief, you know you want to take it. I can't think of anyone more suited to us than him and his brother. Honest to God, I mean, I think that they would be my. I mean, it's them. What do you think, Colin? Who do you want?
I don't know. I don't know who we can attract. I really don't. I'm struggling to think who we can attract because I don't think we are that big proposition that people think we are. I really don't.
What about those two guys that used to manage? What's that team that Gary Neville owns? What are they called?
Salford City.
Salford.
What about those two blokes? Remember them? Bernard and his mate. Let's get them in. They look like a right laugh, that pair. I would be happy with them. What do you think, Paul? Who would you like to see?
I don't know. I really don't know. We're discounting Carl then.
Yeah, we're not having him. If you're going to say him, just go away.
No,
we're not having that.
No, what I said when the Barnsley game, we went to the club shop because my dad went to pick up his tickets, and Carl's daughter was there, and we asked her how our dad was doing. She said, "Oh, he's a bit bored," and we all said, "Don't worry, he'll be in work soon." And then before you know it, he's off up to Leeds. But no, I don't have any preference or any idea of who's going to take over. It's probably going to be someone we've never heard of, somebody from another country, and it'll be the next great thing. But I can't see us getting an established name coming in. But
No.
Let's see what happens.
No, I can't.
Albie?
Whoever is the current head coach of Brentford's beating. That's probably what it'll be.
Yeah, that's a good... That you're not
It'll
wrong.
Look, I said this a few months ago when we were doing... when we got rid of Liam Manning. The bookmakers' choices and the popular choices, it's pointless saying you want this person or that person, because I think even if they're a realistic, possibility, I don't think the club will go down that direction. And the reason why the club won't want to go down that direction is because they do not want a manager who has a history of knocking down doors and saying, this is what I want and that's how I want it. They want, hence Liam Sweeting, to say, here you are, you've got no experience of backing yourself up, so here's what you've got and here's how you've got to do it. So that's why it will be an unknown or a novice. Again, weirdly enough, for as much as I didn't particularly buy into his ideas, if we never had Mark Jackson before, he's exactly the bloke that would probably fit the model in League Two.
That is absolutely so true and simultaneously so depressing to say that with us. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I know who I'd like, but I know we're not going to get him.
Tell him, go on.
He's taken some time out. I'd like Darryl Clark because he's already got promoted out of this league twice. So I'd like it. But then everything that's gone on with him over the last 18 months, I think he's taken a well-deserved break from football. But then we're all saying that about what we'll do. Thinking about the last two times we first went down to League Two, so the 2006-2007 season and 18-19, we brought in somebody that knew the league, could stop the rot within the first couple of months, and then got us challenging. And I don't see why
we didn't have the model that we have now, though, Dad. We don't. But then,
that right there, that's a point you should take into consideration. We didn't have the director football model then, did we? So whoever we get now has to be basically, he's not a manager, he's a head coach, isn't he? That's a great point. I never thought of that. I don't
What
want
we
the
did
County
have as
Brothers
well
in.
then was a shitload more money,
Yeah.
budget-wise, to get us out of the league.
Well, I'm going to ask you then,
and
Tony.
Inches, yeah.
Who do you want? Who
first
do you think we should get?
I think
But he needs-
Cowley brother, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
And generally can't think, but again, what Dan said as well, yeah, I'll go with that. But I think importantly, it has to be someone, Martin Allen, Cowley brothers. It could be anyone, but I don't want it to be the manager of the team that just won the Senegalese third division.
Do you know who'd be good, Tony? And they'd be
That
available.
happens to be Martin Allen.
Do you know who'd be good? And they'd be available because they've just jacked their jobs in. Me and you.
Well, yeah, there is that, but you know, I know the pension at MK Dons isn't great.
Not great. I'm alright. I'm 61, Tony. I've only got about 19 years worth of life left. And to be quite honest with you,
That's why, and I'm 52, mate, and I get a 22% contribution, so they contribute 2%.
I think if we had
I'm
me
out
and you,
unless they make me an outrageous offer.
well, what if it was me and you and we had Ross as our sort of bloke that picked the cones up and put them down? I think they'd go for that.
I think with a bit of training,
yeah.
be good at that. Ross, you up for that?
You up for that, Sandy?
I'm underqualified.
Well, I've done my fair share of
You've
picking
done your
cones up.
you Tony.
I was to be fair, I was never allowed to put them down.
Not only, Tony, were you good at it, you had your own song. He picks them up, he puts them
Song
down.
about it, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I think we'd be. That Tony is the dream team right there. The original podcasters. Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Well, we'll do it then. Let's do it. I mean,
Put our CVs
subject
up.
to salary negotiations, obviously. As I say, it's more about the pension for me. If they came in and said, "I'd do it for £500 a week," a 25% pension
I
contribution.
wouldn't do it for 500 quid a week. That's a bit low, Tony. I'll be honest.
But I could live on that.
Well, you could live on it, but you'd be watching every penny, wouldn't you?
Don't know.
Right.
What is £500 a week? Hold on, let me.
Well, it's 500 quid. It's not fucking hard to work out, is it? It's 500 quid a fucking week, isn't it? You idiot.
25. Oh, it's £26,000 a year.
Is that all that is? Well, that's quite shit, isn't it, really, to be quite honest? Right. I think
Sounds more. If we say £500 a week, it sounds more.
it sounds more. Let's just say
Is
500
that
quid a
take
week.
home or is that before contributions?
Oh, there's that as well. Yeah, you got to think about, is that take home or is that after?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't say it's got to be. It's all about the pension for me. So
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to start winding this whole entire podcast up. So, if anyone's got anything to say, now's the time. Shall we go around the table, Tony? We'll keep me and you to the very end. Start with you, Paul. What have you got to say about this fantastic podcast?
I just want to say it's been a pleasure. You've been part of my week for a number of years. My Thursday constitution, I would call it. Sometimes
funny enough, that Colin's doing his Wednesday constitution.
he is,
right?
yeah, yes. Although sometimes if I'm short of time, I do listen to you at 1.5 times speed. So it's nice to hear
Yeah,
your
probably
normal
the
voice because you normally sound like the Smurfs. But yeah, it's going to be strange next season that you're not going to be about. But is there going to be a sneaky suspicion that perhaps in 5 years' time, when MK do get to the Premiership, you might come back to do a one-off?
Let me nix that right there. This genuinely will be the very last podcast. We're not going to do a Frank Sinatra. My wife said tonight, "Oh, you come back." I said, "No, we're not going to do 19 farewell podcasts. This is the very last one.
That's it.
It is the last one." What do you? Before we go any further, like Albie, I can only say how utterly fantastic it was having you as a co-host. You really were. You were outstanding, to be quite honest. You were brilliant. Only bettered by one person. I'm keeping that person to the very end. So what you got to say then, Albie?
I just want to say you're all legends and hail hail.
I said about legend and I said about fucking Celtic. You get off.
That was brave of me. No, it's been a pleasure. It really opened up a little bit on the forum the other day about the shit that I went through during lockdown and just after lockdown and whatever. And this was something to look forward to, weirdly enough, especially when there was fuck all else to do. It's been good fun. and I love the sound of my own voice. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as the podcast goes up, especially if I'm on it, I listen to it straight away because I love hearing myself. Yeah, honestly, it's been good fun, and you'll be sorely missed. But I must say, there's something that's been quite a misconception from a lot of people that the MK1 podcast are rivals. No, they've got
not rivals, mate. No,
they've got the back, and they do a fantastic job. So at least we have something to look forward to, and hopefully everybody listens to them too. But Spotify's still there, and you can listen to all the old podcasts on there and have a laugh. Especially ones like the one that I did on the opening day at Cambridge, where you can listen to that and laugh your arse off at how wrong I got everything. So it's not all down and out yet. Just and we're all still about at the ground and whatever. So. Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
And once again, I'd like to say this exact same thing to you, Dan. You were outstanding as a co-host. You really were. You really stepped up when we really needed you, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's all right. I always thought I was just sort of run of the mill or whatever. So to hear you say that's quite nice. But yeah, no, I'd like to echo everybody else's thoughts. Like when
this
I'm
is
not
great,
on
isn't
the
it, Tony?
podcast-
Everyone telling how fucking brilliant we are. We should do this.
I already knew.
Well, when you start up your new radio show in 3 years, we'll tell you how shit you are then, don't worry. Yeah, but no, so like when I'm not on the podcast, it's always like I'll always listen to it first thing, first thing when it's out. When I was on it, it was a really nice sort of. I don't know if decompress is the right word, but that's sort of how it felt like. It's like I could just sort of rant about whatever happened. I think I started when it was on lockdown, wasn't it? So whatever happened when we couldn't be in the grounds and sort of talking to mates, talking to you lot about what we'd just seen and everything. And yeah, it's just you will be sorely missed because this sort of podcast it is like you're sort of chatting to your mates down the pub after a game, like sort of like beer in hand and just sort of. For want of a better phrase, talking nonsense about the things we love.
And you, Colin?
Yeah, I thank you for allowing me to invite myself on occasionally.
Eventually, fucking invite yourself on. Eventually,
the MKDSA show. Can I just ask one thing?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Danny Cowley was touted by a few people, or the Cowley brothers was touted by a few people as prospective managers. Do you think Liam Sweeting and those can work side by side comfortably?
I could care less. Work side by side, don't work side by side. He's the person I would like. Like they are the ones I would really like. If they can't come because they have to work under director of football, then go somewhere else and we'll get someone else. I'm shrugging my shoulders because basically, genuinely, honestly, I'm not saying this for comic effect or he's had enough. I don't care. Get who you like. It will make no difference to me. I'd like to see the Cowley brothers because that's who I'd like to see taking it over. But if they get someone else, they get someone else. It's as simple as that.
It's certainly. Well, I just feel like the Cowley brothers, or we want to be totally hands-on, and I'm not sure whether they'll be comfortable in that environment and working with a sporting director or whatever you want to call him.
Oh, fucking go somewhere else and manage someone else then. Simple as that.
Okay, I'll go somewhere else.
Right, I'm keeping this one to the end. Sandy, you have been if it wasn't, you are the funniest man I have ever met in my whole entire life. When we did the podcast with you, we did those ones lockdown. Like, you have just been. Am I right, Tony? He has been fantastic, hasn't he? He really has.
It was brilliant. Absolute 100% deadly serious
about everything
all the time. Professional. That's enough. Very professional. And we just fucked it up for him.
Took the piss out of you relentlessly.
But he stuck with it.
The greatest thing about you, Ross, is that no matter how much we took the piss out of you, you never deviated from your seriousness. Do you remember that night, Tony? Oh, Christ. I've got to take a tablet or I'll be dead in 5 minutes. But I don't mind being dead for this podcast. The funniest ever, funniest thing you've ever done. Remember that night that Tony, we were on the wireless and he was singing that song from that theme tune to that.
Come on, Ross, do it.
Do it now, Ross. Go on.
Forever.
Come on, do it. Come on, do it. What was it called? What was it called, that thing?
Canadian.
Yeah, fucking Mounties and Huskies. What was it called?
Due South.
Yeah, go on, Sandy, do it. Go on. Silence, everyone. Sandy's going to sing.
Oh, I can't.
No, like, all joking aside, Ross, you are the funniest man I know. You're just so unbelievably funny. Like, if it wasn't for you, I don't think the podcast would have gone as long on as it did. Because what a lot of people don't realise is that the original podcast started back in 2012. You know, the three of us, wasn't it, in that stupid radio station with that daft Rastafarian bloke that was absolutely fucked every week we turned up, wasn't it? And, you know, and then just like
Christmas special.
Do you
where
remember
he was
that?
asleep and the radio station wasn't open.
God, he was turned up.
You have to ring him.
Yeah, fucking where are you? That it was just. But yeah, right then, Tony. It's just down to me and you then, isn't it? After all these years. Oh God, I feel really bad now. I feel a bit shit, Tony. To be quite honest, this is. I feel terrible.
I wouldn't feel
Oh,
bad.
I feel all right now. Then, if you don't give a fuck, I don't either.
I can't fucking wait, to be honest.
It's
14 years, mate. 14
it's
years.
been so fucking long. I mean, we've been on what 3 different radio stations. We've done about 16 different various podcasts. Will it ever end? I would like to think it's going to end in about 5 minutes because I am so sick of doing this. I really am. But I'll be honest with you, Tony, it's been brilliant, really, when you think back on it. It's been a right old laugh, hasn't it? It's been genuinely, it's been all right, to be quite honest. That's as much praise as you get out of me. It's been all right, you know.
I'm always amazed at the figures, and I have to question them sometimes. Like the beginning of this season, 6,000 listeners. That's just ridiculous.
I think this one will do really well. This one will do well. Like, you can always tell.
From what, I mean, the reaction I've had from people who never spoken to before about the podcast. I didn't even know they listened to. I mean, some of the people I just simply don't know anyway. But it has genuinely surprised me how many people actually do listen to it. But not only do they listen to it, they listen to it every single week, and they all say the same thing.
What shit?
It's my Thursday morning. It's my Thursday morning ritual, or it's my Saturday morning before the game ritual, or whatever it is. So that, I mean, I would normally leave that till last for our listeners, but just cannot. I don't think I will ever grasp how many people actually listen to it, because I thought, like, tonight, I knew we wouldn't get many people on, and thank you for those that did, because I really wanted Ross on, obviously Albie and Dan as well. Colin, you can fuck off. Paul, I know, has been listening to us for years, and Paul knows the trials and tribulations of being a radio host anyway.
I do.
But no, I mean, I'm only joking, Colin. You can go back to the toilet.
Thank you.
I can't, as I say, I just can't grasp how many people actually do listen to it and have been forever. I want to say thank you to Franco, the first ever co-host, and if it wasn't for Franco, I mean, I did all the work, obviously.
You don't do all the work fucking now, do you? You fucking let your lesson.
No, I didn't back then either. No, I mean, getting the podcast going, and it was a happy coincidence, and it was good timing for us that we managed to get a radio show immediately. So, and it just went from there. And I still remember that first ever show being absolutely fucking terrified of going on live radio, and I realised that I'm actually going to do this now. It was my idea, but I'm actually doing this now. And then after no more than 30 seconds, realising that actually, do you know what? This is really easy because I love what I'm talking about. And that is what makes, I think, it to listen. I've never listened to one of these. I listened to the only one I've ever listened to, and more than once, was the Audi air compressor.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Ross is perked up over there.
You know what I'm going to do? Irrespective,
so on PC.
That's good. How irrespective of how un-PC that is. See in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, I'm going to put that out. I'm just going to unedited as it is. What can they do? We're fucking. This is the last one.
It's just bad. So yes, thanks to Franco for the original, and John and Ross for being the following co-host, and Dan McCallum as well. Dan McCallum was quite up with us for a while, wasn't he?
Was he?
Farewell.
Don't remember that. Fucking blanked him out my memory.
Good.
My first, just quickly, my first proper memory of sort of like you doing a radio show or a podcast was the Moo Camp with, I think Dan McCallum was doing it. I think you were on there, John. Was it Modders as well? Am I?
That fucking pile of shit. Forgot all about that.
And Albie had his
Brando Modders.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, you were on that, Albie, weren't you? You used to review fucking what was it? Trailers for films, didn't you? Fucking sake. What an absolute load of shit. Yeah, to be quite honest with you, it's genuinely time to end this. Like I said earlier on, I'm 61 next month. I'm really not
mentioned it, John.
I'm really not very well. You know, I'm spectacularly unwell, if I'm being honest. I think like on this call, it's only Tony that knows, and Ross that knows I'm like really, really ill. You know, and I just need to stop this. I just need to like not do it. So, yeah, I think it's come to its natural conclusion. It is what it is. I mean, it's a bit of a shame that it's ended with us being relegated, but. You know, fuck it, is what it is. What can you say? I'm shrugging my shoulders. And I'm going to say this for one last time, Tony. I don't know what to say.
Doesn't know what to say. Well, I want to say thank you to John. John has produced this podcast for ever. Also, I was hoping to get him on tonight, but I can't seem to track him down. Steve Holden, who produced the original podcast from 2009 till 2011, wherever it was. So thanks to him as well, because without him, I think you learned a bit from him, did you? Am I right in thinking that, JT?
Yeah, I did, Jay. Albie's got his hand up. Go on, Albie, what do you want to say? Say we're fucking brilliant, I'm cutting you off.
One of the points I did want to make is I've got a final Albie on the road coming out soon. I'm just touching up a few edity bits.
Brilliant.
But I want to say thank you to John. I've done maybe 5 or 6 of them over the past 18 months, and I have no clue how to edit. So I've been sending all the audio files to John, who doesn't like doing this stuff anyway, will happily or unhappily edit them together for me and release them. I've always had a passion of, as I say, firstly my own voice, and secondly the media and podcast and radio and things like that. So to have my own little experience, it's all been down to, without, blowing smoke up your arse, John, if it wasn't for you editing them, then they wouldn't have been out there. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. And thanks for giving me a pathway to being the next Chris Moyles.
Just before I come to you, Ross, I would like to say our site is indeed funded until the end of November. So if you have got anything, it doesn't even have to be Milton Keynes Dons related, but if you've got any audio or anything at all, if you'd like to send it to me, I will put it up on our site, because like I say, I've spent the money until the end of November, so we're to get my fucking money's worth. Right, Sandy, what do you want to say?
Also as well, do you remember when Cyclo Sounds and there was Anthony that used to look after us? The old guy.
Yeah, I know who you mean,
I think he was a big part of when we did that. He's a bloody good guy. I always liked meeting up with him.
What about young George that was a producer?
Yeah. Who was that
George
producer?
as well.
George, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who he is?
I did not like driving. And when George stepped in, it was
Do you know on the site, that guy Don's 50. Do you know who I mean? On the web, on the concrete roundabout.
His dad, yeah.
That's his dad, yeah, it is. It really is. Right, I'm done now. I'm fucking finished. This is it. This is the last one, Tony. Right, just me and you then, Tony. Well, it's been a pleasure, mate. It really has over all these years. It's been brilliant.
Yes, I want to reiterate how much
you do all and I do everything.
I dread to think how many hours of John's life have been spent sat in his shed just editing out the libelous stuff that... And the amount of times I've rung him...
Can you cut that bit out?
...the show to say, can you cut that out, mate? No, we can't leave that in. I can't have that going out. And
do you know what I've done, Tony, with that?
He'd have to go. He said, I've just done it.
I have got all that in a file, all that stuff. See, before I snuff it, I'm genuinely honestly so tempted to put that out. It's quite funny because I was listening to one recently. I'm not going to say who it was, but let's just say it's a high profile member of the Milton Keynes Dons establishment, and I was listening to it and I thought, I'm going to put this out at the end of this, and when I listened to it I just thought, no, I can't do that. I couldn't do it, when I was listening to it, because he genuinely says about 3 or 4 times, is this off the record? And I'm going, don't worry about it, mate, it'll never come out. And I thought, no, I can't.
The thing is, what you got to realise is that when second you do something like that,
that's you done.
And although we're never doing this podcast again, the second you do that, you then can never ever go to the club or that person or people like that.
Oh, and just before we go, speaking about the club, I would like to thank what's his name? Anthony, is it Anthony? The media bloke?
Anthony from Chile,
yeah. He is genuinely, a lot of people don't know, but behind the scenes, he has helped us out on multiple occasions. He really has, behind the scenes, that people don't know. All those interviews we did with ex-players and managers, even when they were ex-players, we still had to run them past the club. So he has
all in his own time as well.
All in his own time. We've done those interviews. We've I've edited it. I've sent it to him. He's then had to sit and listen to it and then said, yeah, that's fine, you can put it up. And not once has that guy ever said, no, can you cut that bit out? So a massive thanks to him. And if you're listening to this and you are the MK1 podcast blokes, you really should make a closer relationship with that guy, because he will help you out. He's brilliant. And on that note, I would like to say, continue to listen to them. That's us. I'm finished, Tony. Anything you'd like to say before we fuck off forever?
I think I'm bound to have forgotten so many things and so many people, but I did want to mention Anthony, so thanks for reminding me.
I did remind you.
Also, other people at the club who listen. Hello to, might be listening, does quite often, Mrs. Cullen, good evening. Andy Waldridge, commercial manager, I think, is a frequent listener as well. And there's quite a few others at the club who listen and don't give me any grief about the things that I say. And it's nice to know that I've been able to do this and still work at the club and be friends with everybody there as well, because there is a difference between being a fan and working for a football club. You can be both.
You work for the club. You never mentioned that once over the years.
I don't know how anybody has not known this, but I have worked for the club for the last 13 years. I think it's about time I revealed that information to you all. It's going to come as a shock, I know, but yes, for the last 13 years, I have in fact worked for paid and unpaid Milton Keynes Dons. So there you go. It's out there now.
Right. This, not only is it the last podcast, but it's also the first one that I am not going to edit. So I'm just going to stick this straight up, because at the end of the day, what are you going to do next? There'll be no podcast next week.
Please tell me you got Colin flushing his toilet.
Oh, I've got Colin flushing his toilet. Don't worry about that. So that's it then. So only wishes remains for Tony to say goodbye, Tony.
Goodbye, Tony.
And it only remains for me to say goodbye and good riddance.
Oh, and I want to say bye to the two kids, the little lads.
Those two little lads.
And their mum and dad, yeah.
Right, we're done. Goodbye
and
that's it. Good riddance.
Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit because he was fucking useless.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.